The Newbie Prepper Food Storage Solution, How to Store Calories, Part 1. This is going to be short term. Now for short term storable food, this is going to be defined as food that's usable up to 3 months to a year. Things that you normally buy and normally eat at the grocery store, at the supermarket, are fine for this category. In fact, the great majority of this can be made up of just food that you already buy. When you're under a stress situation, in an emergency or a disaster or a calamity, the last thing you need is your body to be under more stress. And that comes from eating, different foods and different things that you don't normally eat. So if you go and buy all this special, super duper long-term storable food for short-term, and you never even tried it out before, you don't even incorporate it into your daily diet, but you expect your body just to go ahead and just act like it's no big deal, you're going to have problems with digestion, and that's going to be a major problem, when you're already under stress, because your body craves comfort, predictability, and recognizability when you're under stress. So you want to eat foods that you already do eat, and you don't want to change your diet dramatically or drastically during a stressful event. Okay, because ultimately your digestive tract is very important. It can give you a lot of problems when you're trying to get through tough events. Now, one way to do this, to prepare for your short-term supply, is to double up items each trip until you have the desired amount for your food reserve. The other thing that you can do if you're already a member of a warehouse club, such as Sam's Club or Costco's, you can make a separate trip there. One trip and just get it all knocked out. Or you can make several smaller trips. It's up to you. But don't worry about what people are going to think about you if they see you load up a cart to the brim of whatever you typically eat. They probably just would write you off as probably a business owner or someone that has a shop and you're just getting it for your business. So I wouldn't worry so much about that. Overall, we have 8 categories in this particular part 1 for short-term prepping for food. The first one is going to be your dried foods. And this incorporates, your nuts, your dried fruits, and, lentils, peas, beans, rice, and crackers. And these things typically have a shelf life, that satisfy this without any problem. In fact, most of these that we go over here are, has a minimum of 3 to 6 months, and some of them go easily to 1 to 2 years, especially the canned goods. The next item would be canned foods. Obviously, would be the best way to go. Would be the BPA-free liners in the cans, or even better, glass containers. Unfortunately, the liners in cans they typically, over 90% of them have BPA. So if you're trying to be really health conscious and do canned goods, you have to consider that factor. Salted and preserved meats is number 3. Number 4, foil sealed goods, such as like granola bars, chicken and tuna, or instant rice packets. Any kind of like side dish would be an option. Definitely, those things typically have a 1 to 1.5 year shelf life. The ones that have more milk products and so forth, and they may be, 6 to 9 months, but the vast majority that I've seen are closer to a year. So that's definitely an option. The next, number 5, would be garden production. In farm setting, you could have just a couple chickens, just something to supplement for meat and eggs. You could also have just a few rabbits for meat, and you would have a byproduct of fur for other things. And if you have a lot more land, you could always go with even just 1 cow for milking, for making cheese, for meat. Number 6, you want to have some treats, and it doesn't have to be anything crazy here, but things that can actually last at least a few months. Dark chocolate, if you keep it in a cool, dark place, that was going to be good. Maybe even in the refrigerator. Something that doesn't have necessarily have a lot of sugar, but something that's going to satisfy that palate. If you're going to be eating anyways things you normally do eat, it's not going to be a problem. But as we progress, you'll see that it can be much more of an issue if you don't have something that doesn't have flavor. And that leads us into number 7 is spices. You want to have some good set of spices to jazz up, especially if you start getting into just your dried foods that don't have any flavor or have very minimum flavor, or you're not even used to eating it without flavoring. That could definitely be a helpful thing, is to have some good spices. And these spices should be as simple as possible. They should not have MSG. They should be MSG free, and they will definitely help overcome palate fatigue that we'll talk about further. Supplements is going to be an awesome item. Depending on what your gender and your age, you may have different requirements, so you should research that and see what those are. Supplements typically have a shelf life of 1 to 2 years, and you definitely want a good all-around multivitamin, preferably in the powder form, so it's more easily digested and metabolized. But pill forms, or even like these whole food ones, are excellent. You probably want extra probiotics, because your stomach's going to be working extra hard. It's going to be under a lot of stress. You may have digestive issues. And I'd double up on your vitamin C and B complex. Those are going to really help manage your stress load on your body. And so there's really no need to buy any of the food buckets or any of this exotic, survival food, quote unquote. If you want to get a little bit of dehydrated food, that's fine. But and some of it, those side dishes that we talked about in the foil packets are dehydrated. Some of them are even freeze dried. But you do pay a premium for it. There's no doubt about it. It's totally a premium price for those foods, mainly because they're so easy to make. So that's one thing. But the food buckets, going back to that, you have to be super careful, because what you don't really realize is how many preservatives and how you get stuck with certain foods. It's not very customizable. You may not like to eat, macaroni and cheese for lunch and oatmeal for breakfast, and some kind of teriyaki chicken and rice every meal for a month. So those food buckets, some of them, they advertise a whole month in one bucket. What you're going to find here is that their food portions are very small. The calories are very small. I've seen personally some of them as low as 500 calories a day. The most premium ones I've seen are around 2,000 calories a day. If you're a male that's going to be somewhat active on any level, you're going to need much more than that. Probably 3,500 to 4,000 calories in a real emergency, unless you just plan on vegging out in the bed all day. Maybe 2,000 calories would be able to meet your baseline, metabolical basal rate or something. So what we have here is that they're super expensive for what you're getting. It's full of sugar, those food buckets. I mean, there's a couple of them out there that advertise more whole foods and more organic and less preservatives and stuff. But I mean, over 95% of them out there have tons of preservatives, MSG, GMOs, lots of sugar. Their serving sizes suck, and they're very small. You're going to have to probably double up on whatever they say you can get by on. Just double it up. So if you're just gun-ho and set on getting food buckets, if you want just a 1 month supply of prepping, get 2 buckets, because that's what you're going to probably really need. And you're going to probably want to diversify some other food in there. You're not going to be wanting to eat the same old foods. There's only so many things that they give you in those. Okay, and moving along here. This kind of falls into the last point, and we'll wrap it up, is the MREs. They're a military type of a meal system. They stand for meals ready to eat. You can build your own. MREs have kind of gone up a little bit over the last few years. They used to be going for $5 to $7. Now they're between $7 and $12 in a lot of areas. You know, it's full of preservatives once again. Preservatives, MSG, sugar, all kinds of real bad crap. And I'm pretty sure most of it is going to be GMO food. Portion sizes are decent, but you're paying a premium for all this packaging. They typically have a shelf life of 3 to 5 years in most environments, up to 8 years if you really store it in a cool environment with no sun, no light. The problem is, though, is not only is it just a bad deal, it's just not good food for you. And a lot of these MREs, they're in these cases, and you're kind of stuck with whatever they give you. They do have vegetarian MRE cases, but once again, they're just most of them are bland, and there's just so many problems with it. You can make your own MRE, and you can simply do that by getting a food vacuum sealer and you know, picking up your own items and just piecing it together. You know, maybe you want to get some side items or some crackers or granola bars or some beef jerky and or some cheese sticks or whatever it is. And some of them you may want to keep in the freezer or the fridge. Most of them you probably wouldn't want to do that, obviously. So you would have picked food that you wouldn't need refrigeration, but you can put those packs together. Maybe even some small canned goods can go in there, but preferably probably the foil packets of maybe of your meats. And once you get together your little packet for snacks or meals, you can put it all in the little vacuum sealer, and within a few seconds it sucks the air out, and it just helps preserve and keeps the oxygen from leaking in through plastic, because the plastic wrappers on a lot of this stuff is very porous, and it's not guaranteed to really give you protection against oxidation and breakdown. Lastly, though, I wouldn't want to advise you to store any type of oils or even to use oils. They oxidize too fast. They're inflammatory, cause a lot of problems, especially when you're in an emergency situation. You don't want to be dealing with inflammation. And also, as you probably noticed, I haven't mentioned peanuts because they put a lot of oils in those. Now, dried roasted peanuts with just basic sea salt are good to go. Everything else, though, in terms of peanuts, it's not good at all. Peanut butter in general, though, once you open up that container and oxygen hits that oil, it oxidizes it, and it's really not that safe. It goes rancid fairly fast. I mean, sometimes in some cases, literally within an hour or so, it can be very rancid. You can't sometimes taste that, but your body has to deal with it and process it out. So with that, thanks for your any comments, and if you have any further requests for videos, let me know. The next video will be part 2, and it'll deal with short-term to midterm. Mainly midterm food prepping. Thanks for watching.